Hey everyone, I'm Joe Peterson. I'm the Vice President of Cloud and Security at Clarify 360. I'm excited to be here today. We're going to talk about communication service providers as digital disruptors and the tools that they're going to require to do this. And I'm being joined by Monica Zethzon. She is the head of Solution Area Packet Core at Ericsson. Good morning, Monica.
Hey, good morning, Joe. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here. So let's get right into it. It seems that many communication service providers want to provide more value on top of their connectivity businesses. Can you take a minute and explain to the audience how 5G helps these service providers to realize this new role that they're stepping into?
No, sure, happy to. I think in general, the 5G comes with a lot of, strong capabilities into the network that help service providers become more relevant even beyond the connectivity. So, you will have support for things like, lower latency. We have support for things like slicing that also makes it possible to provide more dedicated type of services with different quality of service, for example, and you can do this more dynamically, right? So capabilities are there in the network. In order, though, to go beyond being the connectivity provider, there's also an interest really to be able to expose these capabilities and take advantage, I would say, of innovation that happens, from other parties in the ecosystem. So, for example, instead of thinking that you as a service provider need to create the application yourself and then implement and deliver, making you more relevant to have others, develop the applications, but still being able to use, for example, then the increased quality of service when needed in a certain application, location, other type of, assets that we have in the network that can be used by others. There's an interest in order to primarily then get that really high quality of service with low latency, with very time critical and delay sensitive type of applications to move that to the edge.
Wow, that's very interesting. Can you take a minute and paint the picture for us about what is really needed to realize these new applications and some of the use cases that are being discussed, and also what skills are needed and who's part of this equation?
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, there's a lot of things to cover, but if I'm going to try to cut it short, right? In order for this to happen, there are many parties in the ecosystem that are relevant. Like we have the communication service providers, you will have the hyperscale cloud providers. We have maybe system integrators who are today are an important party to many of the enterprises, and not to say the least, the application developers. So, of course, just to have a way to tie all of these together is an important part. And maybe to just, it's sometimes easier when you talk about the direct use case. There's been a lot of mentioning about drones, for example, when we talk about 5G, but we had a real case very recently here in Sweden where a man had his heart stopped, basically. And a doctor was at the scene, but did not have any tools, so no defibrillator, for example, at hand. Calling 911 and where they at the hospital realized it would take them quite a while before they would actually have an ambulance at the scene. Instead, used the drone in order for the drone to deliver defibrillator to the doctor. So here, of course, the doctor could take it, could use it also now with the very sick man and actually saved him. So his life was saved. And in this particular case, here we had a doctor at the scene, but of course it could just as well have been just a neighbor without any medical expertise. But in a similar situation, still be able to send the defibrillator and stay with the video communication with the expert, helping you how to use it, making sure that you're doing it in the right way. So these are, of course, just one example of things that 5G will start to enable, where you will be seeing more opportunities to leverage this, right? This is good for society. You have others which are more tiered towards the enterprises.
Wow, that's such a good story. And things like this are going to really make a difference, and people are going to see the value of edge. As we think about this, and the technologies that are needed, what are your customers asking for help with to really accelerate stories like this that they can share with their customers?
I think they are. I mean, if I take this, they are really looking at ways to see how they can expose the capabilities that they have in their networks and how they can get a wider reach and use basically all the capabilities in the network, because that's really what it's about. It's one thing that you expose something, but of course it's equally or even more important that you have somebody who leverages the capability that you have out in your network. So in this, from Ericsson, we just launched the edge exposure server. So here we're combining the two in the sense we're really making it possible to expose the capabilities that we have in the edge to applications also then running in the edge. And here and then with communication with devices could be of different, it could be the drone, it could be a car, it could be a gaming console, it could be, of course, a smartphone. In this, since you're exposing the capability from the edge, you can really take advantage of the fact that you make sure, for example, is the device, what site is currently closest to the device from which you want to provide the service, in order to make sure you have the shortest distance possible, which would minimize the delay and have a better end user experience. So that's one such, I would say, one such capability that you could expose in order then, of course, for the application to be more relevant. And with this, we see that number one, for the service providers, this gives them opportunity to address new business opportunities and take a step in that direction we just spoke about. It also makes them much more relevant for the application developers, who now can see a way to make their applications, better and with a higher quality of experience. And thirdly, it's also the element of security, because with this, we're also making it possible to make sure that data stays locally, sensitive data. So these are some of the ways we see that we can help service providers when they're looking for going beyond the connectivity.
You make such a valid point about security. I'm so glad that you guys are bringing that to the forefront and baking that in. That's super important. So, what's next on the horizon for you at Ericsson, and what are you most excited about with Mobile World Congress coming back again onto the agenda?
Yeah. Well, first of all, so excited just to be there and to actually meet people physically. It gives so much energy. But if I'm going to summarize it in short, I'm very excited about being able to demonstrate this edge exposure server and its capability that I just spoke about. I think that would be very interesting to hear our partners and our customers to see, their feedback and how this can be leveraged. In addition, we recently also launched the dynamic network slice selector, which is in the same neighborhood of also going beyond connectivity. It gives you an opportunity to have multiple slices from a smartphone. And in this case, this is something we've already demonstrated with customers like Far East Tone and Deutsche Telekom. And now we want to demonstrate this in a bigger scale. So really excited and looking forward to see all the innovation that we will have. Imagine possible.
Well, I'm jealous that you're getting to go to Barcelona. That sounds amazing. And I'm really excited to hear about some of the new use cases in technology that you guys are going to reveal there. So thank you so much for taking time to visit with me today.
Thank you so much, Joe.